And I said it was hard to deal with, but you do have a Tide against you, to be fair. Tide can be one of those heroes that just kind of negates the Beastmaster. Especially if you go into that Aghanim Scepter route and you have the AoE Gush. Things can get quite annoying for the Beastmaster, in fact, but... See where else they go with this. I mean, they still need another support here for this 4th pickup.
They have a lot of options here. I think if they did want to, Grimstroke would be really good. They go with the Disruptor instead. So they've got good AoE hold now with the Static Storm. They've got great single target hold with the Beastmaster and the X from the Kunkka. This lets them take some really good team fights. Helps them pin down the Weaver as well, Mike, because that's the one thing. You want to kind of lock in that bug. And the Kinetic Field kind of helps you. The Static Storm helps immensely as well. I think this does boost YG's presence overall in team fights. And as a laning support, of course, it's very annoying to have to deal with the Thunder Strikes coming through every single time. You just buy, triple mangoes and just keep spamming that spell at level 1 and 2, and you have a pretty decent time in lane. So, like what YG is doing to give themselves stronger side lanes, I think XA has a lot of room still to develop further. I mean, they're already showing their 2 supports with Bane Weaver. There's the off chance they do run the Weaver safe lane instead. Up against a Beastmaster, it's not the worst. I think it's pretty manageable for a Weaver in that lane. And you could still maybe pick a different pause for to tie on the Tide. But Tide Weaver is already a really good lane, so I don't see too much reason to flex hard. And again, if you run a core Weaver, you just run into the issue of Disruptor in team fights. So we'll see. We're also lacking the Bob hero here, Mike. TA still sounds pretty good. Mid matchup against Kunkka, not the most amazing. You do have the Torrent to kind of clear out already, and Execration will instead go into the Marb PA. So there's your physical core to play around with your Weaver and Tide. Lots of minus armor with a TA Deso up and the bugs running through with a Gush. A lot of these heroes will just melt. There's not much durability to be had here, even with a Rum buff. I think that PA is going to have a good time here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, interesting here from Execration. I mean, it's not the freest PA game, though. Like, it is going to be a decent PA game, but you got the Roar, you got Static Storm with the Kinetic Field, and you've got the X back into the Torrent Boat. But I do agree with you. I think the PA is still going to be paying off quite highly here for Execration. Nice kind of way as well to deal with the Beastmaster in the laning phase, because you don't really care so much about the units, because you have that inbuilt evasion. You can secure creeps very easily with the Stifling Dagger to boot. Still, we'll see how both teams try to finish this off. I mean, YG and Execration, 1 ban left to go. Both sides at least seem to think they need a mid laner each. Now, Execration certainly needs someone in the mid lane, but YG, we still assume it should be the Kunkka. Execration are currently banning out mid heroes, so they don't seem to think that's going to be the case.
I mean, if they do run the Kunkka safe lane flex here, it still feels like a decent lane for a Tidehunter Weaver to play in. I think Anchor Smash takes away a lot of the potency of that Tidebringer, so kind of cut into the wave clearing potential of the Kunkka. You won't have access to runes, so Torrent spam's not going to be as big of a factor there for the Kunkka. You will still have the X back home, but you won't have the value of the bottle. So I think you lose a lot by running Kunkka in the side lane. I think that's something that YG will have to worry about. But again, as you mentioned, Mike, Exa has been banning mids. So they're just taking care of whatever might match up against them. I am still keen to see what Bob takes. You could still run a TA, and I think the Quap and Ember are kind of strong against a TA. Kunkka is as well, but they might just be solidifying Bob's mid lane if a flex does come true. And a TA is pretty greedy with a Phantom Assassin, but again, we've kind of said that about, say, TA Lina before, and it still worked out. So I think you have some room to get the TA up and running. I think the PA will maybe hurt a little bit more, but I think there's an interesting farm timing there, where your TA can get initial farm, work on Dragonlance Deso, the PA can still work on Battle Fury. Once that's up, she takes over the jungle farm, and at that point, your TA should also have all she needs to show up and fight. So you could kind of split farm that way, but it is fairly greedy, and YG will just close out with the Terrorblade. So they've got a very stable pause 1, plays nicely in the push the Beastmaster has. Execration go into the Void Spirit instead. So this is a hero we don't see too often now. The Spirit Brothers in general outside of Ember have kind of disappeared for the most part, but Bob Void Spirit is something he excels at. Mid lane matchup this time should be pretty decent. You've got some ways to dance around the Kunkka. You can maybe work towards the runes a lot faster with the dissimilate up, and that should lead Execration to having a bit of stronger rune control in that mid.
Absolutely. That kind of brings us to the question, though, Jonathan. I mean, you've talked about both drafts, but which one do you think you prefer going into this game number 1?
I'd lean towards... It's tough to say. I think the drafts are very even, but I'd lean towards YG just because they've got Skill A Rubik up. There's lots of good spells to steal from the Tide and Bane.
Yeah.
They have decent hold already for the Void Spirit with just the Roar and even the Static Storm. I think it's going to make it hard for Bob to commit onto the backline, because if he is just jumping in by himself, you don't have many heroes that can follow through until you get maybe the Tidehunter Blink up, and that makes it hard to use that initiation with the Astral Steps in, with the Remnants down. I think that's going to make it harder to burst that backline. So I think YG's got the draft to kind of play into here, and they just need to kind of play as 4, buy a little bit of space for Kish, but once your Terrorblade's kind of running, every time Metamorphosis is up, you're going to have a good time in fighting here.
All right. Well, with that, we are going to head into game number 1 between YG and Execration, and we'll see how that gets going for us here. This should be a nice way to end off the night here in this these 3 best of 2s we've gone through. How's your night been, by the way? I mean, I haven't asked much about you today, John, but how has your night been? So we do have a pause. At least the teams appreciate the fact that we're going to start talking crap.
My night's been all right. It's kind of cooled down. You know, the afternoon was a lot warmer. I think I was complaining a lot to you about that really warm afternoon with my neighbors burning leaves again, but evening's a lot nicer. Not quite a nice cold evening, Mike, but what can you do? How's your evening going? You've told me there were noises on your roof. Is that still a concern, Mike?
Yes, it is, Jonathan. There are currently noises going on in the roof of the shed right now, so it is getting kind of scary. At first, I thought it was some kind of small creature like a mouse, but I'm starting to think it's a little bit bigger than that, John, so I'm getting a little bit concerned. And it might be more than one creature, because sometimes the sound comes from more than one place. So it's if it is a mouse, I hope whatever else is there is not trying to eat the mouse, because that wouldn't be very nice, would it, John?
Yeah, definitely wouldn't be. You know what else is not nice? Bob giving off the shade already. Good luck, kid, he says. Your PH, that's okay, fat. Bob, that's what you get for playing with fire, friend.
Absolutely. Oh, AT kind of being surrounded here. Aether Remnant, though, a little bit off the mark, so a bit unfortunate there for the Void Spirit. I suppose he was quite close to the tier 1 tower, as we are going to have another pause to fly out. And you know, John, what is it? Throughout our history of casting, especially Southeast Asian Dota, BTS Pro Series, we've casted pretty much every single one. What is it with... It's always the last series of the night. There has to be a bunch of pauses. Like, we've had the smoothest night we've had in a long time. And every time that last series comes around, the pauses begin, without a doubt.
I know what to say, Mike. I guess these teams just wait for us to reach that mild stretch. We're like, all right, it's time. Bring the pauses out, boys. Get the internet issues. If you're Boom, you'd be saying, get the Discord issues on. Let them stall. That's what we want here. It's a quick one, though. At the least, it's a quick set of pauses here, Mike, so they do get ready to go. Hopefully that net is stabilized the side of Execration, but we all know the internet situation in the Philippines, Mike. It's never good.
No.
So all we can do is hope it stays fine.
I'm not sure you can complain about internet considering my circumstances right now, John. It's I wish bad internet was my only problem at the moment, but unfortunately that is not the case. Still. Sweaver, a woo. Is this a new edition?
Samael. That should
okay.
be Samael.
Well,
he
you
just
can't
hasn't set his he hasn't set his pro info, I guess, but that should be Samael.
All right.
At the least.
They like to confuse us too, Jonathan, at the end of the night as well. Mob gonna take a bit of damage, but it is gonna back off. It is getting a little bit late, John. I think I can start making the I can start complaining a little bit. It is past midnight now. Samael.
That it is.
Don't forget to, you know, turn your pro profile on, Samael. We don't like when the names change. We can't remember every name in Dota, can we, Jonathan? Or at least I can't, because I'm getting old now. Still the bot lane. Z-Rain and, of course, Kish going to be against S-God and Samael. Talk to me about this bot lane, John. I mean, you talked about Z-Rain having a very dominant time, spamming Static Storm, and he's already got 5 mangoes, but now he's going to take quite a bit of harassment back the other way. In fact, he takes a lot more harassment than he dishes out. Do you favor one side or the other down at this bot lane?
I'd still lean towards the YG lane. I think with all the Mind's armor coming in from Execration, it's still a Terrorblade. He still has 9 armor, and expecting a long duration swarm bug to be stuck on him early on is kind of a tall order. You are trading hits with Zarain, sure, but again, as you pointed out, Mike, he's got 5 mangoes. He's ready for the spell spam. And there's not much you can really do up against Kish. Like, you do have the threat of Anchor Smash, but SGod does opt for the level 1 Gush, so he can't even slow down the right clicks of Kish in terms of farm, and that should lead to a very stable Terrorblade lane. Doesn't even have Metamorphosis once that's a factor as well. Gap closing towards that Terrorblade is going to be a massive issue. And I think as long as Kish is farming, you don't really care what happens to Zarain. Like, he's going to lose his career, he's trading hits with Samael, but it's still a good time for your TV, so you really don't care at all.
Yeah, I mean, Samael might get the kill though. Zorain's still going. Does Fairy Fire up now and might have to salve himself up, as Samael will do the exact same thing. We'll have a look at the other lanes as well while we still have a chance. Of course, actually top lane, there was a bit of action out. Vincenzo was being chased down here by skill lane AT. In fact, now with the lift up, they might be able to slowly secure this kill, but Vincenzo, still backing off, is going to be able to make it. And of course, he'll be there with Marb against AT and skill lane. This lane, John, I mean, it should be Beastmaster favored, but we kind of mentioned in the draft that Marb should still be able to secure his own farm just fine.
Yeah, I think the beauty of this, and we saw a lot of this lane matchup when I was casting with Parker, actually, Mike. It's really down to the dagger, right? Like, you just dagger the boar. It's really easy to just keep clearing out. You just stand back and farm. I think it's more in skill late to work this lane against Marb. You have to be able to run up, use the Fade Ball to prevent the right clicks from Marb being too effective. And Vincenzo's doing a good job just putting his body forward. So you're not really getting as much out. You already see AT actually has Wild Axes level 1, Inner Beast level 1, no boars at all. So he's just depending on the Wild Axes flying out to harass out Marb. And that means you get some value here for just dodging out. It's harder to play this aggressive Beastmaster with the Axes now. You run out of mana real quick and you just give more charges to the stick that Marb already has.
Bot lane though, Kish getting very, very low now, but barely able to survive and get himself out. Problem is, Zorain does not have any salves available right now, so Kish better hope there's a salve on that courier, and there will be. Zorain, he'll bring some more regen. Waste a little bit of time for Kish, but just a creep wave, a creep or two, not a big deal. He'll be fine. Still, the pressure is mounting though. Like this Tidehunter Weaver lane has not gotten any easier as time's gone on. So Escort, he chased down a little bit, but actually turns around for the Anchor Smash. That may cost him heavily, as Kish is going to keep going. And now with the Glimpse out, they'll bring him right back in. He'll try to fight back, but with the Gush, it's not going to be enough. And Kish, he will be able to secure first blood for the side of YG. Still, Zorain is not going to make it. Samael able to claim the killer. Oh, he may have gone too far. He will give a double kill away to Kish, and that is certainly very bad news for Execration.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see from that bot lane, but we talked about it, Mike. The threat of Metamorphosis is just always there, because Kish just held on to that for such a long time. They're only really damaging the Disruptor. It doesn't matter for Zarain as long as Kish farms, and that's exactly what he's doing. Even the top lane is going a bit back and forth here, although they will make plays onto Skill Lay.
That they will. Skill Lay eventually going to drop, I think, as the Fairy Fire does come through. Still Vincenzo going to be able to Brain Sap in time, and AT in a bit of an awkward situation now. Luckily, Marb did not have a Stifling Dagger to throw out, as he does go for the Axes again, but just barely not going to prove to be enough. Vincenzo, he'll be fine to back towards the fountain, or even just deny himself off here. He'll make the walk. In the meantime, Bob, mid lane, is going to try and dissimulate out of this X, and he's going to be fine. Young PH could not catch him.
You're having a really good time here for Young PH, though. Like, he's not massively ahead in comparison to Bob, but he's got stronger rune control, which is not what you want to see for the Void Spirit. He needs that top up. He doesn't have something like the XTP back to fill his bottle, which is what we tend to see Kunkkas do when they fall behind. And Bob is set to hit level 6, so is Young PH. You will have the aggression with a step if you find that opportunity. It's still a worry because you've still got X. Sure, it's level 1 X. Young PH's range isn't the best. but if he still catches you off guard, it can be hard to get that done. Though Vincenzo's here.
Well, that's a nice hit to Remnant right through the creep wave as, ooh, Dissimulate's not on the mark. Bob getting juked out. Young PH barely able to get himself out, and Bob, pretty sure he's not going to be too happy about that, as bot lane, Samael gets caught out again. Kish able to pick up his 3rd kill of the game now on the Terrorblade, so a very good laning stage so far for Kish, as he's only 1 CS behind the PA, and he's got 3 kills underneath his belt.
Yeah, they're really getting this Terrorblade enabled. You are still having a good time with Marb in terms of farm in comparison, but the Terrorblade with 3 kills is just scary. And as a PA, right, you're still waiting for Battle Fury, you're gonna need that item to flash farm. TB doesn't need any of that. And they're still keeping up that aggression bot flank. Metamorphosis is still up, S-God is not safe.
No, he certainly isn't. A lot of damage being dealt as Kish might be able to pick up a dominating spree now. Tries to back off. Nice little body block there from Zorain. Playing a great pos 5, just allowing Kish to take the kill away. 4 now for the TB, and I'll tell you, John, Execration, they are giving a little bit too much to Kish, I think. Because he's top CS right now, and again, with all these kills he's getting, that's going to be quite detrimental to Execration later on.
And my worry for Execration is that their magic damage isn't amazing. You've got a lot of minus armor with Tideweaver and TA. Your main magic damage is coming through from Bob and maybe to an extent Vincenzo. And as soon as that Terrorblade hits a BKB, you don't have anything for it. And so that's the big spike we're just going to be looking for from Kish. Working towards a Dragon Lance first, already has power treads. But you can just disassemble the Lance, get the BKB, you're going to be safe in these fights. And we're just not seeing enough from Bob. Like, his mid lane's very static. He's stuck in there, he's just trading farm with Young PH. And that's favoring Young PH as well, because he's clearing out these waves so fast with the Tidebringer. Bob doesn't clear as fast in Void Spirit, and the rotations haven't amounted to much. They missed that kill earlier on. Young PH is still fine. We need to see some activity coming out from Exet. They need to find a way to kill off Kish with some magic damage while he's still low level, because once some more strength comes in, it's going to be hard to get that burst on.
Nice scan out there onto Young PH. They know exactly where the Conker's gone. Aether Remnant to block them off so he can go for that power rune, but Bob's going to get a little bit unlucky. He's going to be up top, so the race is on now, but with the Astral Step charges, you won't have any reason to not be able to get that haste rune for Bob. Nice little pick up there. He is still 300 gold behind Young PH's Conker, to be fair, though. His top lane, AT. He's going to be just fine. In fact, a rotation now from Kish up towards that top lane as down bot, Zorain has been left alone, so Samael gonna find him out here on that Weaver, and Bob looking to clean up and pick up his kill, does manage to take it away, so the Void Spirit. First kill for Bob, it's right back into the mid lane for him.
Yeah, he's going to be able to just hold a little bit more, but the push is going to be coming out from YG. Metamorphosis is going to be up on Kish with Beastmaster up. Level 1 board, so it's not the best damage, but you've got enough with Kish around as well. So they're going to take a tower, no trade coming out from Execration yet. They are going to be able to shove in bot, Mike, but it's a Tide Hunter. It's not the fastest push in comparison.
Well, certainly not. Certainly not. They'll probably have time to defend this. I mean, if they really want to against XctN, they could TP down, and the pings have come out. It's like Young PH wants to make the move over along with Zorain. They'll slowly walk their way up with that smoke. Even Marb gonna show himself now on the PA, but it might be too late. He may get caught here. It's a very awkward situation for the side of YG as Marb is gonna get X'd up now. And here we go, Samael to move in. In fact, never mind XctN. He goes for the Ravage, but the boat is landed perfectly, and now the Raw's out. They've got Marb, and they've probably got XctN. He tries to run, but watermelons don't run, John. He will just get squashed by YG, and it's just perfect. I mean, YG's doing just a brilliant job right now in this game one.
And they're just on point with the rotations in the map. They leave their Terrorblade to farm up top while making those moves come out. Skill A even scouts out the triangle. Not many stacks built up. And this could cause Skill A, but there's no rotations coming in with that Nightmare, so they can't even get the punishment off onto the Rubik. And now Execration has to deal with the push coming out from Beastmaster, because the Dominator's already up, Mike. AT is going to be able to focus in on lane, get the push done by himself. Young PH is pretty far forward here, though.
That he is. This could be dangerous, Bob. Looking for that angle for that Aether Remnant. Gonna go for the step instead, as Vincenzo now gonna show himself with the Nightmare out onto the Rubik. So another step forward, and now the Remnant is gonna land, and Young PH is going to be taken out by Bob. That's not a great sign for the Conquer. Zorain now going to be spotted here by Samael. They'd love another, but it looks like they're not really going to have too many options here for the Disruptor. Instead, they'll have to respond to this big push coming in from Kish in the mid lane. They'll have plenty of time to make their way over. Problem is, against the Metamorphosis, the Terrorblade, I don't know if you really want to force the fight, but they're going to try it anyway. Onto the Rubik's skill lane. He does avoid the Dissimilate. With the Sakuchi, and now Bob is in massive trouble. He'll step away again and does manage to barely survive. As I believe Kish actually missed a hit uphill, which allowed Bob to walk out.
It's a close call. Good attempt from Execration, but it just feels like without Ravage, they can't take these wider team fights. You're not quite geared up on Bob yet. He doesn't even have the early Kaya to boost some of his damage out. And he's working towards the Kaya Sange this game, so no Yules to self-set up as well for that Remnant stun. I think you're going to want at least one item up before really going in. Kaya is up now, 11 minutes in, so he's got a little bit more damage output. Down the line, we're going to need to see the Ags as well, and that's quite the time away. We'll see how much Execration can get done to get Bob rolling that way, but they're losing a lot of ground. While mid was pushed in, top is also being shoved here by Young PH. A lot of pressure on every lane except bot. And this is spreading Execration out quite a fair bit. They are trying to give Marb space to farm. His Battle Fury isn't up yet, so he's just lagging behind the Terrorblade in this farm game. 2 parts away, not too far off, and if you consider the timing, it's only 12 minutes in, it's not that bad. But it just shows you how much faster that Terrorblade is. It just has so much presence with just the Dragonlance and the threat of Metamorphosis in the middle of these engagements and pushes.
Oh, AT is going to break the smoke. Immediate roll round onto the Tide as well. The Krakenshaw not really bringing that off as AT is still fighting. Ravage is there though, and they will commit to the Beastmaster to kill his Vincenzo. He does drop, but a very nice kill onto that Beast, and definitely going to be favorable now for Execration.
Find a lot more in that trade. They needed that big kill on a core, and they did commit Ravage, so Young PH is feeling a bit safer up front here.
I don't know about that, John. Young PH is very far forward right now. Has an Invis rune, and there's no detection on Execration to be able to see through that. I suppose that's the confidence from Young PH. I mean, he just thought to himself, there's no way they're carrying a dust right now. I'll be fine. I'll walk in, I'll do some cheeky stuff, and I'll just walk back out.
It's just too tanky to punish, even without the full threat of a boat. It's a Tide with a casual helm, and they can't just got out here, Mike.
Oh, nice lift him onto the cliff. It's all about the mental warfare, Jonathan. That's what it's all about, and Escort is not very happy at the moment, as they are just throwing him up and down. He's on a trampoline at the moment, poor old Escort. Slowly but surely they will chip away, and Young PH will be able to take the kill into an immediate smoke up. Mid lane, they'll see Marb. That's a massive pick off if they could get it. They'll have to leave him for now, because Samael is around to break the smoke and does do so. Marb has the blur to boot. The torrent is not going to connect. And that'll be it.
It's a little bit of time wasted here, especially for Kish. He's not farming in that downtime. And they can't really push onto the tier 2. I mean, they could commit Metamorphosis, but the side lanes aren't in their favor. There's some opportunity for Execration to make some plays top. AT is also not with him. He's been shoving in bot. S-God will come in to prevent that wider push, but you have to respect the output of the max wild axis. Like, even though you don't have the Ags build up, that is still a lot once a couple of those axes start to stack up. Even
oh, that's a great torrent!
Wrapping.
Young PH with the 2-man blind torrent. Sorry to interrupt you there, Jonathan. I was just kind of impressed. As there's another torrent to fly out, but this time it won't connect on much. Bob, he's going to rotate eventually to try and help with this fight. In fact, no, he's gone right into the Static Storm. Nightmare will save a little bit as the boat's going to fly in, but Dissimilate and the Ravage, they might be able to turn, but no, the stolen Ravage. Skillay, he turns it right back. Samael, he'll just time-lapse, but they've already lost Bob. They have already lost Bob. It's a big win for YG, and they're even going to find Escort. What a stolen Ravage from Skillay.
And that's massive. And we just talked about that value of the Rubik in the draft. Like, you have so many spells to steal Ravage, not one of the harder ones, but still massive. And you can still find that window. And XctN was just forced to ravage very aggressively for the defense. I don't think that was a fight for Execration to take. Bot tier 1 doesn't give them much at this point. And they are going to lose their control of the triangle, but that was already nebulous when they lost their mid anyway.
Oh,
so it's a lot of commitment for not much.
Goes for the Nightmare Dodge. We'll make it up. I agree with you, John. I feel like it was very unnecessary for Execration to take that fight, but I suppose they're just not happy with the pace their towers are dropping right now, and I mean, quite frankly, Mob is not doing a fantastic job of keeping up with the TB at the moment, John. And Mob hasn't even got the Battle Fury up yet. We're 16 minutes into the game.
Yeah, it's a slow process. It's just down to the hero matchup. Terrorblade just farms a lot more, has greater laning presence, greater kill potential with Metamorphosis. Now you do have that full Kaya Sanch on Bob, so there's a little bit more the Void Spirit can do up front. Harder to pin down. Gotta be cautious as they're collapsing onto Marb up top here, but does manage to back off in time with a good ward watching that Roche pit. So gets the signal to go home or go into the lane. If he actually goes for that creep wave, he could get caught off here.
He could, but the blur is gonna save as it does not break. Not yet, but they saw that dagger. Pings are out. They know Marb's in that northern tree line somewhere. Scan is there as well. Skill A is not gonna be able to make it in time though.
Radiant's bottom tower.
If he had that Ravage off cooldown, I think Skill A would have just popped it to try and get that TP cancellation, but unfortunately for them, they did not have it available. So instead, why not just go after that top tier 2 tower?
They've got the siege creep up, Fortify already popped. Kish not even going to need really the Metamorphosis, just with a Beastmaster around. And that's going to be a fast objective. Into the outpost, could open up Roshan, no more ward protecting that for Execration. They're playing at a severe vision and disadvantage up against a Beastmaster as well with the Hawks. So I think you've got a good window now for YG to safely take Roshan if they want to. Like, Execration just doesn't feel like they're in position to defend that. They do have Ravage ready, but with no blink from XctN, it's tough for him to just walk up and expect a massive Ravage, and you already see the effects of the Stolen Ravage, so they get the scan, but again, they're a bit too far for that fight, Mike.
Now Roshan gonna drop. No contest here from Execration. With the Aegis to go the way of Kish, who has not died once this game yet. He's still 4-0-3. So still kind of unkillable here is Kish, and with the Aegis up now, things just become infinitely harder for Execration. He's got to try and find a way to defend this mid tier 2 now. I mean, sure, you've got the Ravage up, but you haven't got a blink to initiate with. And you know there's still a... Oh no, Skill A got rid of the Ravage. He did take the Sakuchi instead. I suppose maybe confident he could just take the Ravage again. In fact, here we go. He's setting up right now. Nightmare though, gonna catch young PH. They will be very patient with this. They do make their move though, but they can't really commit. In fact, now Static Storm has been committed. XctN, he's the one being called out. Glimpse back to boot. XctN, there's your X out to really lock in the kill, but a nice Nightmare dodge. It's just not going to make the difference. On Bob, they want to try and get this Void Spirit down. Bob, he'll get a bit of damage out, but it's really nothing spectacular here from our Void Spirit. That'll be a mid-tier 3 gone now, and Kish is on to the barracks. Just nothing to slow them down.
Yeah. They get an X reset as well from young PH, although they're backing off, but they can't really punish. Or right through the back lines.
They've got Samael. It's another nice setup. No buyback. Oh, there is buyback now. Samael just got the gold back for it. It's just not going to be enough. Even with the buybacks, you can't protect this mid-racks, but you do need to find a way to punish. That is for sure. Unfortunately, again, without the blink initiation on XctN, they can't really set up to punish anything.
No. They're not in a position to. At the very least, they don't lose range racks, but that doesn't matter too much to YG. Because they're going to be very happy with what they've taken. They can start to keep building up on Kish here. Working towards the Scotty next. They're still holding the line down mid. And they might be able to find some stragglers here.
XctN not again, sir. He's been caught. There's your kinetic build into the X torrent. They'll just slowly chip away, trying to bait the Ravage out from XctN. AT is spotted there by Samael as they will keep the vision up, but XctN's dropping rather low. He might need to commit ASAP. There's your Ravage out. Skill A's got it though. No, he got Anchor Smash. He didn't time it well. It won't matter though. Bob has been caught in the Static Storm, and the boat is going to fly right into Samael and XctN. A triple kill for young PH. I could have sworn he got that Ravage, but I think he might have been just a tad too early. As Vincenzo is going to try for the TP, but they've got the Nightmare now from skill late. That'll be another kill for the side of YG, as there is just no stopping the Radiant at the moment.
No, there's no stopping this aggression. YG has everything you could possibly ask for. They've even got a gem up now in their Disruptor so they can check when that Weaver is scooching around. And it's another set of racks. Mid's being shoved in by the creep wave. Range track's eventually going to fall as well. And Execration without the Ravage, there's just no team fight. If they could try to poke and prod with Bob, but he doesn't have Ags. He needs that Silent and the Resonance Pulse to really get some control going for the team, but it's just way too slow on the build-up, and now with Smoke, they're just going to flank him.
Simulate away again. He's been very good at just dodging out these X's, but it doesn't change the fact that the Metamorphosis has been popped again by Kish, so they're just going to go for the final lane of Barracks. Where's the defense? Where's our PA? Marb's across the map at the moment. He doesn't want to deal with any of this. He's just trying to deal with the creep wave and force them back, but that's not going to work out. They've already lost the melee and the range Barracks, and that's Megas. Execration just don't have an answer. And Bob kind of says it all to his team. They failed him, John.
Yeah, it's a bit rough. I think they went for the draft that just didn't manage to work against what YG had. And they're still going to hold out. Ravage and 40, they could maybe look for a couple of pick-hops to turn the tide here, but it's looking tough. I mean, Aegis is still running on Kish for 40 seconds. That's how fast moving from YG has been.
Your Nightmare out though, XctN again into the Static Storm, and Marb, he got caught into the X-Bode. Nightmare's gonna buy a bit of time to get away, but young PH is still chasing. They even use the Fiend's Grip just to hold him back. Let the PA live for another day. They'll buy back on XctN. They're gonna try one last time to force this fight, as they've got young PH trapped up, and they'll finally take him down. Maybe this is the team fight to take, as now Kish is trying to back up, but no Bob. He's gone too far. Nightmare, though, does buy a bit of time as he astral steps his way out. Bob will survive, and now the Ravage comes through. XctN, they are still trying, as they've got the Aegis out. They have one life. Can they find a second? Marb's on a triple. Kish is going to keep trying to fight this one out, but he's got no Metamorphosis. He is set to die eventually, but he's still going to mad fight against 4 heroes, and they're having trouble. Sunder's there, Kish. He is still going to go. Still keep trying as Vincenzo now. He's down. XctN, he's quite low himself. He needs to be a little bit wary as they're trying onto the Rubik instead. Get rid of Skill A. Get rid of that pesky Rubik. As Kish now with the TP attempt, but no, the 8th, the Remnant, going to hold him down. Surely he can't keep fighting, and he can't. He finally dies. And Zorain, I suppose he's speaking for Execration right now when he does say he's ecstatic, John.
Yeah, it's rough. Execration hold on. They're down to just one tier 4 tower on the high ground. Like, everything's gone, Mike. The buildings are gone, the statues are gone, nothing left just from that opening from YG. I feel like that fight would have gone a lot better if Execration just watched that Roche timer a little bit better. That Aegis timer, it only had 7 seconds. So if they managed to get that first, you know, let it expire, kill off the TB, they might not have needed to buy back in Vincenzo and hold on to some resources there. They're still in the game. They find the double damage as well. And we're only one part away from Bob to finish up his Ag. So that second wind for the Void Spirit's going to come true with that Silence and Resonant Pulse. That's going to be big. I think that all they need is to somehow hold up and prevent YG from piercing high ground, because once they do, not much left till they reach the Ancient, Mike.
Certainly not. Bob's got a DD rune and the Ag's up now, though. I mean, you never know. Maybe they can fight with this. Highly unlikely, but you never know. YG. They've smoked up as 4. They'll move their way up through the top lane, it seems.
Look at young PH.
Oh,
he's got the moon shard off.
Oh, nice Nightmare, but Marv has still been caught. But he does have buyback. He can come back into this team fight and help out. Problem is Vincenzo, he's going to be caught with the X. Even with the Shadow Amulet, they've got the detection this time around to take care of him as he just stands there and takes it. No way out for him. There's Marv with the buyback now. We'll see how long they can delay this one for, but the Megas are here. Young GH is taking all the damages. There's your Ravage up. XctN, he'll commit. Here she does not care whatsoever. He'll take down the Tide, no problem. Back in onto Samael now. The GG call has just not been made, as they are still trying Execration to keep this game going. But Samael, he is going to die with the dieback out on the Weaver. And now Bob, he'll be the next target on the Void Spirit, and that'll be it. GG's call. YG taking a very confident game number 1 against Execration.
They make it work really well. We had some doubts about the young PH Kunkka, you know, the last time you and I saw it, Mike. It didn't have the best time. This time around, YG managed to play around it really well. And I think it all boiled down to that Rubik pickup. There were just so many big spells to steal, and you saw Skillay with that Ravage on the bot, making Execration force that fight out, just getting a lot from it. Even their side lanes were really strong there. Beastmaster, AT having the foresight to not go for the Boris up against PA, instead going for the Wild Axis, ensured that he still had that strong lane up against Marv. He still managed to slow down the farm. Not much Vincenzo could do to relieve that pressure. And they couldn't really work on stacks because they lost towers very quickly with the Beastmaster they were up against. And they went all in on this opening on Execration with Weaver Tide. Yeah, minus armor is great. It's not enough to deal with a TB. Sure, in theory, you're cutting off the Terrorblade's EHP, but you don't really have the follow-through in that lane duo to actually jump a Terrorblade. And I think the easier way to manage TB is still magic damage, which, again, was mainly on Bob, and he just didn't get off to the running start he needed. You know, we talk about Bob the Wrecker. Wasn't quite there today, Mike.
It certainly wasn't, John, but we'll see if it does come out in game number 2. Of course, that will be coming up in approximately 10 minutes, so we are going to head off to a very short break. Damn it, John, get out of that damn lobby. Get out of the slot, John.
Oh, my bad.
The camera's ruined. Get out. Thank you, Jonathan. All right. We'll head to a very short break, and right after that break, we'll be back with YG versus Execration game number 2. See you then.